before I just completely snooze. My headphones aren't plugged in, which is a liability with these. Alright, I'm against Rusko, so this is favourable even if I did not have banned cards in my deck based on previous play. However, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll win or lose. Granted, as I had a whole week where I played Uro into 2 aggro decks and still won. This hand though is like completely mediocre. If Azusa gets countered, I'm in trouble. I will mulligan once, and I will keep this hand. I can Abundant Harvest for spells potentially, although I'm likely just clicking land. Nissa's Triumph for more lands, but I may try and hold Nissa's Triumph for turn 3 rather than play it turn 2, and I'll be, well, actually I probably need the untapped lands for that. So here I'm going to Abundant Harvest, but I'm going to get a non-land. Natural Order, that's a scam card. Cool, make them scared, although with this hand I can't really back it. It has to be Azusa, and this is not going to do much otherwise. Rusko hits the board on turn 2. How fair. Here I have 3 lands to play still in hand, so I will do this. I also have Generous Ent, which I can cycle. Consider, sure. So I have 1, 2, 3, so I can go Hashep Oasis, Azusa, Argoth, and Snow-Covered Forest, plus Nissa's Triumph next turn. Now that is if Azusa does not get countered. If they are holding a kill spell, that is completely fine. I have no use for a Generous Ent, so I'm just going to cycle this away. Go Forest Cycle for the Forest. I could get the tapped Forest, but I'm less interested in that. Going to go straight for Azusa. Hopefully it does not get countered. It does not get countered, fantastic. So I can lead with Argoth, Forest, Nissa's Triumph. And as I said, turn 3 Nissa's Triumph, we do hit here. Now I am going to, oh, never mind, it's basics. Alright, fine. Going to get one of each, doesn't really matter too much as I've already got one of each already for the sake of Field of the Dead. I still need a 6th different land other than these 3 lands in hand to be any good. I'm also threatening a Natural Order in conjunction with Courser of Crucifix. If they do not have removal, I suspect they do, but we will see. And I still have yet to set my music. Go me. Alright. Got that set up. See what the opponent wants to do. If they kill Azusa, I can recast Azusa, no problem. Granted, they can still have found a counterspell. Somewhat likely. Somewhat likely? I'm not sure. They only have 1 black mana, which may make things awkward for them, but the majority of the deck should be blue anyway. Okay, we do see the Maya come down and it's tapped. I should lead with Azusa here. I don't believe there's any reason to go for Courser of Crucifix, as I have all the lands in hand to try and dump. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, Courser of Crucifix. Try and get my life back if this resolves. And this also tries to set up my Natural Order. 1 ring can keep me alive for a turn. They are going to get a hand reset with the Midnight Clock, however, so that's pretty scary. See what they actually have. Orcish Bowmasters, okay. I wouldn't say I'm drawing that many cards, but I do have the One Ring, so... Not quite the perfect counter in Orcus Bowmasters, but a pretty good one. They have to find some counterspell for Natural Order. I do believe I take this. As I quite like Courser of Crucifix with Azusa, it's going to give me the life straight back anyway. Those can tick up, they can get a new hand. That's fine. This what scries one, but I can keep the Hunter's Maze on top, so I will do so. Play the Hunter's Maze. Winding Way is nothing, so I will just play the land from hand. Play the One Ring, give myself protection, see if they have a response. Likely going to be a Midnight Clock activation, but we'll see. They actually have a counterspell last in hand for a new hand. They did not tap the Midnight Clock, so a minor mistake there from the opponent. And now they need a counterspell for Natural Order. I will sacrifice Azusa and see if this resolves. It does not, unfortunately, by the barest of margins. Alright, I am now in danger. I need Winding Way to get me a lot of action, and they have another Midnight Clock ready to set, and another Midnight Clock summoned as well. The fact that they had the counterspell as the last card's pretty brutal, but considering this is turn 2 Rusko, were they on the play? I can't even remember. Turn 2 Rusko on the play with a really good hand as backup. Tough to beat. Alright, that's good enough. Alright, I will keep this hand. This is a turn 2 Azusa. Well, is it? Yes it is, because I can play Field of the Dead, tapped with Kami. This looks like the nuts from my perspective now. Especially if I keep drawing lands off the top of my deck. It's going to be very, very, very difficult for my opponent to win. Extremely difficult for my opponent to win. They are required to find Wash Away or Stern Scolding. I don't believe they play Stern Scolding, but Wash Away is a given. Nice sleeve there. Just waiting to see if this is a mulligan 2-6 or not. The free mulligan has been taken. Likely it doesn't matter, this hand is very, very, very strong. One of the few 1-mana ramp pieces I do run in the deck. The 1-mana Lana War Elves are also similarly quite strong on turn 1. However, it does fall apart in the late game where Kami of Bamboo Groves, I can channel it for 2 forests, which is particularly relevant for Azusa. And even to some extent, Arboreal Grazer, putting a land into play is still quite useful. Sylvan Scrying, hilariously mediocre when I already have Field of the Dead in play. I'm going to go for Cryptic Caves and just play the Fabled Passage. Unfortunately, I do not have a 5th land to follow up with Azusa, but I still believe playing the Azusa there is correct. Terramorphic Expanse off the top. Well, I need green, so I'll get green for Courser of Crucifix. See if it resolves. Notably get the snow-covered forest as opposed to the forest. Do see the counterspell from the opponent there. I'm going to play Terramorphic Expanse, and again, I'm not really interested in sacrificing it yet. I really want those Field of the Dead triggers to go. However, I do have Hour of Promise in hand, so this may be the play. Opponent stuck on black mana. Okay, I'm going to go for the Hour of Promise. I've determined, as this just gets some of my best lands, so I could go for Crucible of Worlds and pair it with Sylvan Scrying. That is particularly disgusting for the opponent, and this has to be countered. or it's game over on this spot. I'm just going to get Fabled Passage and Friends. Oh, that's not enough apparently. Oh, because I have 2 forests, so I need to Silver Scrying for the last land. Does this get counted? They have a miscast, okay. Well, still not going to be easy for the opponent in this spot. I'm just going to pass now. And they're really looking at a hand hamstrung of black mana as a payoff or trade-off for keeping some interaction and having ramp. Hence the ponder at the mulligan to 6. This could be solve the equation for Malakir Rebirth just to get a swamp. I would not be surprised if that's what they're going for here. It could be Brainstorm as well, but I think Brainstorm is riskier if they go for that. There we see Malakir Rebirth. I think unsurprising given what's happened so far. Pass the turn, Castle Garenbrig, and suddenly Field of the Dead is active. I'm just going to go for Hour of Promise straight away and look for, well, the good lands, I suppose. So let's see. Well, one of them's going to be Thespian Stage, as that seems truly bonkers. And the other one is going to be an Arch for card draw. Not incredible, but likely more than enough to get the job done here. This also means that every single landfall trigger is going to get me zombies, as I have enough keyword different lands in play for my Field of the Dead. I'm going to, so that's sacrifice played once, sacrifice, I can play one more time, and sacrifice it again before I have to stop. And then I can have a zombie on my opponent's turn in case they do have a sweeper of some description. I miscounted, okay. Could be punished here, we'll see. I mean, we still have Terramorphic Expanse, but this could have been 2 zombies at instant speed as opposed to 1. Dark Ritual is in hand for a Rusko, most likely, using all the black mana. I'm not certain if that's what they wanted to do. They could have tapped the Mind Stone to try and keep black mana in the mana pool if they need it here. May be a mistake, but we'll see what they actually do. I do not have full information to confidently say if that was a mistake or not. Do see Narset Parter of Veils. Again, I'm not really drawing cards with Azusa, so not the biggest hoser for me. See a Planar Incision, but without an additional mana source, they don't have access to it. Now they choose to make this enter tapped, so they would have had it. They choose not to. This could potentially mean they already have another Flicker spell in hand, but I'm not sure why they would not make the Seagate enter untapped if that were the case. Anyway, I will now crack the zombies. There's no reason not to. I will make my Thespian Stage a copy of Field of the Dead, just to double and quadruple, well, okay, it's just double the amount of zombies that I'm getting with every single activation. Turn Symbiosis can be a land, or it can just be a spell, and it's going to be a spell in this case. I'm just going to get rid of some lands in my deck. So this is the second time I've put a land into play, so I'll just put this into play straight away. I won't have to worry about it. I'll go straight for Turn Timber, favored over just Arc of Rusko there. Okay, Ovenwald Hydra, I guess. I'll look for a land card. I'm not sure what I want at this point, It could be Blast Zone. Blast Zone equals 3, I remove Crucible of Worlds, but I get rid of Midnight Clock. And all future Midnight Clocks. Or it could just be another draw spell. Let's see. Maybe it's Lair of the Hydra. Just get a big man land as a big threat just to attack the opponent when they have nothing in play. I'll sacrifice the Cryptic Caves as well. This is a draw card loop. Oh, no, I talk about Nissa not being a hoser for me, and then I run into Nissa anyway. Woe is me. Oh well, too bad, so sad, I suppose. This, however, is, well, it's 18 damage should they block a zombie. They are not dead. Get rid of the stop there. Well, here's 19 damage, so they do need something to not lose the game. They choose to survive. Wow, how reasonable of you. Other thing I could have attempted to go for... Never mind, that wouldn't have been enough anyway, but that's fine. Just past the turn. They're at 1 life, I'm at 24. They do have Essence Flux. However, I still believe... Well, I suppose they would have been dying on board. But they still need a way to get out of this mess. I create 4 zombies at the end of their turn, so a sweeper is not even close to enough here. Spell Pierce is nothing likely the only hit from Narset. It's going to be difficult to even get the clocks to reset. One ring, though, does keep them alive for another turn, and it is going to gain them some life back with Rusko. That being said, I still have a gigantic board state they still do not have an answer to. This does make it, though, closer to the opponent trying to crack a Midnight Clock for a new hand. Yet again, though, that is not an answer. We'll see what actually happens. I'm going to create these zombies, as there's no reason not to, I believe. Possibly, if I want to Cryptic Caves, is actually a good reason, as I will just attack everything at Narset in this situation anyway. Yep. I will not attack with Azusa. Oh. Alright. Sure. Suppose I could have attacked with only Bamboo, Groves, and Hydra, but that does not seem amazing to me. I'll take my free roll draw with the Arc of Rusko for now, before considering if I want to play Cryptic Caves. I see an Oracle of Moldiah, which is a fantastic card that they don't seem to have an answer to. And Ren and 7 on top. I will try to draw Ren and 7. That does seem very helpful for me here. So I will draw it. I can use the Fabled Passage or even the Shire off the top to have the 5th land. Shire entering untapped courtesy of Azusa. Of course, this does give a counter or a target for Spell Pierce, and I have Veil of Summer as protection on top. But alas, that is fine. I'm going to get the Terramorphic Expanse. I don't know why I did this. I should have cracked first and tried to play off the top of the deck. But that is fine. This is what we have done anyway. Hunter's Maze on top. And we can't play that. Okay, opponent still needs to find answers to the 27 zombies on the battlefield, soon to be 29. And I don't believe from memory that they have a Crux of Fate or anything else. But I'll let them play the game. Well, I have to. Unless I want to concede, which I don't. Shot Kara, surprising nobody. 2-minute open, crack the Mind Stone for more answers. Yeah, and they do go for that. So they could be going for the midnight clock now on 9. And I really should not have cast this Ren in 7. Would have made it much more awkward for my opponent to cast their spells and try and get this clock up. Of course, they can win on the spot if they are playing Paradox Engine combo. I don't believe they are if they're just copying and pasting this list from Mob Boss, as Mob Boss did not believe that the Paradox Engine combo was necessary. I have come back around to Paradox Engine. I think it is very nice in Rusko, and you just wouldn't play the tutors for it outside of Inventor's Fair. Plus, I would suggest, even if you aren't running Paradox Engine at this point, when we have a card called the One Ring, you likely still will benefit from running the Inventor's Fair as a tutor. Bloodchief's Thirst, just to get this midnight clock up. They do need to tap this if they want the extra mana. Missed that last time. See if they get it this time. Well, provided they also need to find an answer, and the more black mana they use, the less sweepers are actually effective. You don't have to tell me, I can tell already. It's been hamstrung on black mana this whole game so far. I don't believe that losing the black mana was bad given the run out of cards. Now they have no black mana. They go back to full life, but that's not the important figure here. I suppose the important life figure is going to be 18 on my side. Or if they can get a board wipe and end with 5 life, they do survive. Okay, opponent did not find anything useful. I'm just even going to draw this Hunter's Maze. Ghost Court is kind of funny. Okay, well, Fierce Empath is going to win the game. Irrespective of what they have, they could concede. I don't know where they aren't, if they are dead. But Kozilek on top. Yeah, I just fear a Empath for something. Emrakul or whatever, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Ulamog. Probably Ulamog. Okay, that's kind of funny. Get rid of your clocks. Alright, I think we're done. If they're not reacting, I'm just going to hit attack all. Alright, cool. I mean, granted, I can't think of any blue fog effect anyway, but no harm in taking the extra steps. This hand does not have channel in it. However, it's perfectly reasonable to keep the hand, as I do have 5 lands in the hand with Abundant Harvest counting as a modal. Potential to use Crucible of Ruins with Crucible of Worlds with Field of Ruin as well. Nylea's Intervention also just searches for Field of the Dead and Thespian Stage as well. So I will keep this hand, try and win off the back of a land tutor. Once Upon a Time, if Once Upon a Time hits a 1-mana ramp spell, I could go nuts. I have one hit, and it is Cryptic Caves. Alright. I could start with the tap land. Or I could start with Abundant Harvest. Now I'm going to Abundant Harvest for non-land, as I do have the 5 land in hand already. Vorinclex is one of the weaker cards in the no ban list, and one of the strongest cards in the ban list, just because of the power level of what you're actually going to be doing. I could lead with the tapped land here. I don't actually see a reason not to. I don't have any utility lands that scry. In that situation, I'd likely scry here as if I get a land on top. I don't believe I need it when I have 6 in hand. Tainted Pact. Okay. How many cards are we digging? No, Tasha. Tasha's an interesting tech choice. Don't even see this getting played in the normal Rusko lists. Grim Tutor not being picked up, sort of making sense when you're already tutoring. Seek New Knowledge not good enough. Duress not good enough. Dispel not good enough. Orcish Bowmaster's not good enough. Thassa's Oracle is a pass. What did they take? What did they take? Why am I not shown the card that they chose? Oh, because I misclicked. They did not get a card in hand. That's because they found 2 islands. That is because they found 2 islands. Yes, Tainted Pact. You need a unique mana base, which is why Tainted Pact in a 3-color deck or a 4-color deck like Atraxa and Nicol Bolas is much better. And the advantage of playing at Nicol Bolas is you can run Lutri as your companion. With Lutri as the companion, you can cast Tainted Pact twice. And one of the cards you find is going to be Thassa's Oracle, and the other card you find is not going to be a card you find. You're going to put this whole entire library into exile and cast Thassa's Oracle for the win. So that's a nice way you can just combo win with Nicol Bolas extremely consistently as well. Thoughtseize comes down, takes Crucible of Worlds, could be incorrect, could be correct, I don't actually know, it depends on their hand. Do they have an answer to Azusa is the first question. They do, which does definitely make my life a lot more difficult as I have to wait 2 turns now to play Azusa. Likely I'm just going to be using Thassa's Intervention here to find my land, especially now that Narset's hit the battlefield. This means that Nylaia's Intervention is going to get away uncountered. Looks like they needed the black source or the land. Granted, this isn't a tutor spell, so it's different from the situation from last time. I'm going to lead with Blast Zone, and I am going to find myself 2 lands. They are called Thespian Stage and Field of the Dead. There we are. And ready to play next turn with Azusa. If I can go Field of Ruin, Azusa, Thespian Stage, Field of the Dead, I'm going to be reasonably happy with my position. I could also consider trying to resolve Renin 7 and just putting everything in play at the same time. Which, to be honest, I don't hate that idea. With Thespian Stage, I will attempt to resolve Renin 7. It does resolve. I'm going to use the 0 here and just empty my hand. Field of the Dead should trigger a couple times here. Couple being 5. Scry 1 Finale of Devastation is just good enough to win the game, so I'll also keep that on top. That being said, I do not have X is 10 mana up, but it could be possible in the very near future with both Vorinclex, Azusa, plus the +1 from Renin 7 next turn. If I manage to find 3 lands with the +1. Okay, if I manage to find 3 lands with the +1, I could both go Azusa, Vorinclex, and the Thespian Stage copy. Actually, even just 1 land, because Vorinclex searches my library for 2 forests as well. There we go, it resolves, which is actually quite important as I was bottlenecked for forests. Now I could copy Thespian Stage to be Field of the Dead, or I could try and resolve Azusa and go for the kill. I think I will choose to make a copy of Field of the Dead in this position, as I am not pressured. So I'll just lead with the forest for now. Show my opponent that I have a concerning board presence for them to deal with. And I'm just going to see... What's the point in giving them a choice? There is no point. I'm not going to be drawing any cards, so this is all going to be going to the dome. Give them 1 free block, but I'm going to be pushing in that damage as fast as I can. I can always draw on the opponent's turn with Cryptic Caves, as there is no sorcery speed clause attached to that land. I can also put the Blast Zone up to X's 2, or not X's 2, but X's 1 to get it up to 2 charge counters. However, it really needs to hit 3 for the Midnight Clock. Now, I'm not actually going to sacrifice the Cryptic Caves, as I really want the land to get to Finale of Devastation. Now I'm going to leave with Azusa here. I would like to go Azusa land plus Vorinclex flipped activation. We'll see what actually happens. Now they do actually have Stern Scolding in the main board, which I am surprised about. I don't believe that's a good idea, but here we are. I'm not the one piloting the deck, so I shall play land for turn. Now I believe now I'm 1 off Vorinclex, unfortunately. I can play Azusa a second time, however, trying to resolve Scavenging Grounds. If I do have another counterspell, normally I would be saying that's a positive thing, because that gets rid of more and more answers to my Finale of Devastation, which should just win the game. Wash away. Clean answer, and now unfortunately it looks like the Midnight Clock is going to redraw a hand here. However, I'm still going to push in all the damage that I can. And if Finale of Devastation does resolve, they are dead in the water. Very clear. They can just pass the turn to get a new hand on my upkeep. However, they do go for Memory Deluge. I do believe this is a mistake, as they're now not going to have more than 2 answers. In addition, they're going to have to discard, but I suppose they do get to make a land drop, so they're going to have access to 3 mana. 3 mana. Do they have an answer to Finale of Devastation in hand? I'm going to wage a guess and say yes. However, then they also have the board to contend with. Go for the throat on Rusko. That looks like game over. I don't know what they're doing. They are conceding. Okay, GG. Let me play Finale because I said I wanted to. Alright, fantastic. Yeah, why not? Alright, Field of the Dead is broken. I don't think that was news to anyone, but giving me the opening to search for 2 copies of Field of the Dead was my opponent's undoing. I do not remember if they did actually have an answer for that. If they did, they probably needed to be patient, as that's what can happen.